What exactly is at stake for Texas A&M and Death Valley this weekend?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. It's game day, Harrison. We're launching this podcast on Saturday morning. Night game in Baton Rouge in Death Valley. It's a big deal. It's not an easy thing to overcome. It's one of the most difficult environments in all of sports. The Aggies are currently ranked number 3 in the country. They are 7-0 for the first time since 1994. They are atop the SEC standings. They have everything going for them right now. Everything. So what's at stake? I mean, it seems like they're pretty much in the position that it's more than they could have dreamed of heading into this season. I'll tell you what's at stake. For one thing, the belief of your fan base. If you come in here and you lose this game when you are favored, it's going to start the conversation of, oh no, here we go. And that's not going to be fair because I don't think it's the loss this weekend or today would be indicative of the Aggies starting to lose grip on their season. But there's going to be people out there that are thinking, oh no, here we go again.
Battered Aggie syndrome, as you like to call it, my friend. I think you've said before, people in the comments don't like that term, don't like talking about it, don't like how we bring it up sometimes. But yeah, if there's a loss this weekend, which there's a chance, obviously, just like there is any other weekend, that battered Aggie syndrome comes back. But for all intents and purposes, I think what's at stake is job security. Not for Mike Elko, but for Brian Kelly. This is a must-win situation for Brian Kelly. If you lose this game, it's only going to get worse there in Baton Rouge. So I don't think as much is at stake for Texas A&M as there is LSU in this game. I think a lot of this is riding on LSU. And that kind of mirrors the last few weeks. We talk about desperation. It feels like every matchup this weekend, there's a lot of desperation on that other sideline. They have to win this game. Otherwise, there's going to be some changes in Baton Rouge. You're going to be seeing some people down on their luck, some people out of a job. There's already several high-profile head coaching positions open, and LSU may be the next one if you don't get a win this weekend, facing a Texas A&M team that has all their hopes and dreams ahead of them, even with a loss in this game.
Yeah, and if for some reason it doesn't happen this weekend and you lose to Texas A&M, you got Alabama next week. I don't know. It's not looking so good for Brian Kelly. Here's what else I think is at stake here, Harrison. History for Texas A&M. Heading into this game, they are 7-0 for the first time since 1994. They have not won in Baton Rouge since 1994. If they win in this game, if they win today, they will be 8-0 for the first time since 1939.
That was way before you and I were born.
Way before you were born, a little bit closer to when I was born. That year, they went 11-0 under Dana X. Bible, the former Aggie head coach. And I don't know if anybody knows this, outside of College Station, but that is also the last time that Texas A&M, well, at least claims a national title. They have 3 claimed national titles in Aggie land, 1919, 1927, and 1939. And that's the last time. So the last time they started 8-0, they won a national championship. Just saying, if it happens, we could be, just. I'm not going to come out and say it like a pitcher, throwing a perfect game, but I'm just,
If you start 8-0 on the schedule, I mean, you go look at last year, it was the 7-0 start or the 7-1 start where things started to fall, and you had your down to earth moment in terms of it wasn't going to be a year one, spectacular success. Ended up being a good year, maybe not as great as a year as you thought it was, but if you start 8-0 on this schedule in Aggie land, you should be feeling extremely confident, and it would be a really good 8-0 at that point because you would have beaten two ranked teams, currently ranked teams. I think it would be three teams that were ranked at the time that you played them, although those metrics are a little bit hard to justify because stuff changes and obviously preseason expectations affect rankings very early on in the year. But you're 8-0 with the remaining schedule of Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. You're thinking, hey, anything worse than 11-1 is a disappointment with that stretch. I think 10-2 would kind of be a disappointing. Although, then again, the two losses you would imagine would be at Mizzou and at Texas. But outside of that, Matt, I mean, yeah, the path to 8-0 is certainly there. I don't think this LSU game's as scary as it once was. Like coming into the season, this was one that we were kind of both penciling in as a loss, just because it's at Baton Rouge in Death Valley versus a team that we thought was going to be really good, was going to be a national title contender, and they've shown some vulnerabilities. And this kind of goes back to the same conversation we've had in the past. A&M's really one of the only teams in the SEC right now that hasn't shown an extreme vulnerability. Alabama obviously has that early loss. I think their run defense is a little bit vulnerable right now, but other than that, they look pretty strong. But I don't think there's a glaring weakness with this Texas A&M team. And when we talk about, how does A&M lose this game, it would probably be because a glaring weakness does finally become exposed.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about a weakness for Texas A&M so far this season, you're right. There hasn't been one that is incredibly glaring. The thing you could probably point to is run defense. After what Arkansas did, after what Notre Dame did, Utah State to a certain extent, UTSA. There's been some games where they've gotten gashed on the ground. There's also been some games where they've not had any issues stopping people on the ground. And LSU can't run the football, at least not to the level they need to. So even if you're talking about exploiting a weakness for Texas A&M, I don't think this LSU team's capable of doing it. Now, we say that, and LSU may come out and have their best game rushing of the entire season, and Garrett Nussmeier might throw for 500 yards. We could both be wrong about everything we think about this game. But this is a totally different feeling atmosphere heading into this thing. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's most people, including at least me, probably you as well, I would imagine, considered LSU a playoff team heading into the season, maybe the most complete roster in college football, at least up there, in an SEC title contender. And they have looked anything but that so far through SEC play. So yeah, I mean it's a different feeling game than it was. That doesn't mean that Texas A&M needs to take it lightly. Death Valley is an incredibly difficult place to play. I still don't know how they get all of their SEC home games at night. I don't think it's fair. But I'll let Lane Kiffin, bitch at the SEC for that one, and I will step aside on that. But how will Texas A&M battle that environment? How can they come out of Baton Rouge, avoid the trap, and win another big game against a ranked team? We'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just simply put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, well, the entire Texas A&M offense. They went into Fayetteville and they put up points and they put up yards and they did it from every which way possible. And that has just been a continuation of what they have done over the past few weeks. And if it weren't for that performance from the Texas A&M offense all the way around, I'm talking everybody from Ruben Owens to E.J. Smith to Mario Craver to Casey Concepcion to Ashton Bethel-Roman, who had the best game of his career against the Razorbacks, Texas A&M could have been in trouble. But they moved the game forward, they got things done, and that's what counts. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. How does one go into Death Valley and emerge victorious? How does one avoid the band playing neck?
Move people.
And how do you avoid them dancing on your grave? There's a lot of things that Texas A&M is going to have to do to avoid the landmine that is Baton Rouge. It would be difficult if the game was at 2:30, but that LSU crowd at night, when they get drunk and they get going, I've been there. It made my bones shake, Harrison. So it's going to be a challenge. I've been there twice, actually, and the second time was even louder than the first time, and the first time scared the crap out of me. So let's talk keys to the game. I think that the first thing that Texas A&M needs to do, and it sounds very obvious, but I think it's an extreme key to this football game, hit LSU in the mouth early. Your first drive, run the football, hit them in the mouth, go down, score a touchdown, take that crowd out of the game quickly. And I think if you do that, you're going to have a lot easier of a time.
Yeah, I really do think you do, like, we talk about striking doubt and fear into an opponent early. I think that's the best way to do it. Go out there, get off to a quick start. Don't let this crowd get into it, because the longer you let them stick around, the longer you give the crowd to be an asset in that game. And I think it's real key that Texas A&M goes out there and finds a way to strike early, because if you don't, you're giving a team that's maybe a little bit low in confidence. And that's the one thing you don't want to do, especially when we talk about teams that are desperately need this, or coaching for their jobs, or coaching for next year at this point. And as people always say, if you're coaching for next year, you're usually coaching to be unemployed. And Brian Kelly is coaching not to be unemployed at the end of the year. And you don't want him to get that start, a good start to this game, and really bring that onto effect. But Matt, I mean, more so than anything, at this point, I kind of expect these surges, these early first half surges, especially in these road environments that A&M is going to be going into. I expect it this week. I expect it next week. Heck, I expect it in Austin. A&M fans, buckle up. I think you're going to see some early deficits, and I think you might as well get used to it, because it seems like that's been the trend in college football over the last year or so. When these high-ranked opponents go on the road to even these teams that are maybe lesser ranked or lesser opponents, you see them get off to a quick start and have a little surge. So if A&M's down 10-0, heck, disaster scenario, down 14-0, don't panic. I think that's something that you need to get used to, because I think it's something that's going to happen down the line with the schedule, the way this is shaping up in terms of road games. Key number one for me, Matt, is I want to see A&M's interior pass rush be disruptive. We've talked about the edge group. We know what those guys can do. We know what a Cassius Howell can do. But what I've seen be trouble for Garrett Nussmeier is the interior pressure. When he has his interior offensive line getting pushed into his lap, he gets uncomfortable. When he starts moving to his right or left, he can still make the throws. It doesn't really affect him as much. Yes, the best way to affect him is to put him on the ground. But when you start putting people into his lap, when you start pushing up against him and he has to go backwards instead of side to side trying to escape, it puts him in trouble. I think this is a big week for Texas A&M's interior defensive linemen. They're going to have a chance to be really effective, not only in the run game, but also in the passing game. And heck, what better way to do it than in this game, to start pushing the pocket, to start shedding blocks and getting in his face.
I like that. I couldn't agree more. Anything you can do to move Garrett Nussmeier off of his spot, make him uncomfortable is going to help you. He's an elite quarterback, despite the fact that he isn't necessarily what he was last year in terms of being able to push the ball down the field because of that injury. He's still a very accurate thrower of the football, and you need to do everything you can to disrupt him, or he can pick you apart. Doesn't matter who you are. Here's my key to the game another key to the game, I should say, for Texas A&M. Try your very best, as much as you possibly can, to neutralize Trey'Dez Green. Trey'Dez Green has played in 3 games this year. He has a touchdown in all 3 games. He played in the season opener against Clemson. He had 2 catches for 17 yards and a touchdown. He got injured. He then came back for the first time against South Carolina. He had 8 catches for 119 yards and a score. And then last week against Vanderbilt, he had 5 catches for 74 yards and a score. This guy is 6'7", 240 pounds. He runs like a deer. He has a matchup problem. You can't exactly put Torian York or Damian Sanford on him. You can't exactly put one of these Texas A&M safeties on him. Good luck if Tyreek Chappelle gets matched up against him. And that's not a knock at Tyreek Chappelle. It's just Trey'Dez Green's a monster. So you have to find a way to take him out of the football game as much as you possibly can. I don't know how you do that, because he kind of seems like Kyle Pitts 2.0, and we know what kind of a monster Kyle Pitts was in college. So if you can't slow this guy down, then you're going to have a problem defensively.
Matchups, great nightmares, and he's a matchup nightmare for sure. Like we talked about on Monday or on Wednesday, I guess it was. I'm not sure if they really have like a dominant receiver, X receiver, or that standout guy. They seem to have like 3 really good guys in terms of who they can get the ball to and depend on. I know Trey'Dez Green's been hurt the last few weeks, so he hasn't really been available. But now that he's available, you expect him to be a part of the offense. They got him the ball quickly and out in space versus Clemson. When I remember watching that tape, I was like, man, who's 14? And 14, massive mountain of a person. Played well in that football game. I'm with you. You're going to have to figure out some ways to keep him under control. I'm not sure what the matchup is for A&M, because I don't think you're going to want to bracket the tight end. Like, you may go bracket a top receiver, but I don't know if you're going to bracket a tight end per se. Maybe you're going to have a safety over top. You're going to high-low him. Guy play underneath, guy play over the top of him, and hope that works. I'm not sure how you play that, especially if he gets rolling. I really don't know, because I do think he plays in line a good bit. I think they move him around a good bit, so you really can't really control where he is on the field and how you cover him. That's going to be a matchup to watch, just like it is on the flip side. How does LSU decide to cover Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver? Haven't really seen a team do it at all. And beyond that, Matt, I'm curious what LSU does in terms of their box count. Are you going to stick up top with 2 safeties over the top? Because I think that's probably the best way to play this A&M offense, is I think you need to have 2 safeties over the top, because you need to keep a blanket over the perimeter of the defense. But if you have to roll a safety down and you're letting either Craver or Concepcion get one-on-one coverage, with the way this year's gone, you're trusting Craver or Concepcion in one-on-one coverage. How does LSU respond to that? We've seen them try and get creative with their pressures. Obviously, they have Harold Perkins, who is a chess piece. I don't want to say he's the college version of Micah Parsons, but they move him around like Micah Parsons did in Dallas. Sorry for bringing that up. But what is LSU's defense response to Texas A&M offense? Because they can win in multiple ways, and I don't quite know if LSU particularly has the trench play to play 2 safeties over the top of this Texas A&M defense.
I think you're absolutely right. That's why Texas A&M causes so many problems offensively, and that's why there's so many different ways that they can beat you.
You know what it reminds me of?
Go for it.
My bad. I'm sorry. It kind of reminds me of 2021 Alabama, when you had Jamison Williams and John Mechie on the outside. I believe it was John Mechie. It reminds me of that, because you have 2 really traitsy, athletic speed receivers, and you have a run game Alabama's run game wasn't that great that year. But you're just forcing defenses to play 2 safeties over the top and you're forcing them to play with a minus box count. And you have the ultimate X factor in the run game with Marcel Reed. Bryce Young was a creator. Bryce Young created out of scrambles, whereas Marcel Reed's going to hit you and hurt you with his legs, and he can create. It reminds me of that a little bit, like putting teams in a predicament. We saw in 2021 when Alabama had J-Mo and John Mechie, they put Georgia in a bind. They started to run the ball a little bit better. They started to pass the ball really well. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit in terms of you have two guys on the outside that are matchup nightmares and that you really don't want to trust your corners in one-on-one coverage with.
You know what else it reminds me of? The 2025 Dallas Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I mean, obviously the guys, those, KC and Mario Craver aren't, 6'3", 200 and whatever pounds like George Pickens and I, but it's the same idea. You can't cover these guys. And if you can't cover either of them, in single coverage, you got to cover one of them and hope the other one doesn't beat you. And odds are that guy's going to beat you. And even if he doesn't, and even if you hold these guys in check, you still got Terry Bussey and you still got ABR, who had the best game of his career last week, which we're going to talk about here in a second on our ad read. But let's.
Well, then there's the
Harrison.
run game.
Okay, yeah, that's true. There's the run game as well. Ruben Owens, Jamaria Morrow's coming along. EJ Smith has been good. Marcel Reed can beat you with his legs. This Texas A&M offense is something else, and I don't think people around the country really realize how good it is capable of being. All right, let's change gears. We're gonna take our second break, and when we come back, we're going to give our final score prediction for the game, and hopefully, we're right this week. But let's take a break, and we'll be right back. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. For Texas A&M, there's a lot of guys you could choose from off this offense. Ruben Owens had a great game. Marcel Reed had a great game. But I'm going to go with Ashton Bethel-Roman, who really delivered in a big way. Why? Because it was his career best performance as an Aggie. 4 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Texas A&M ended up winning this game by 1 score. And ABR came through when it mattered. No hesitation, no delay. And, this is the start of a new streak for him, I think, because he's going to be able to take advantage of some of this, coverage that we were just talking about in the last segment with KC Concepcion and Mario Craver taking all the attention. And just like ABR delivered for the Aggies, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through 11/18. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's time for our final score predictions here on Saturday morning. We are recording this on Saturday morning, aren't we, Harrison? It's been a long week, but I feel pretty good about this one for Texas A&M. Despite the nighttime crowd, despite the intimidation of the crowd playing neck, which if you don't know what neck is, I'm not going to say what neck is on this podcast, but go look up the lyrics and imagine getting that chanted at you as you're falling behind at Death Valley. I just think Texas A&M matches up really well against this team. I don't think they have a exploitable weakness that LSU can take advantage of in this game. They may have the advantage at overall at quarterback, but I think Texas A&M has the advantage on the offensive line. I think Texas A&M has the advantage at running back. I think Texas A&M has the advantage at wide receiver. I think Texas A&M has the advantage at tight end. And defensively, I like this LSU defense. I think this Texas A&M defense is just as talented at every level. And because of that, I'm picking the Aggies to cover the 2.5 and win 31-24, moving to 8-0 for the first time since their last national championship in 1939.
Man, making me rethink. I got the Aggies 42-17.
Wow. So you think this isn't going to be close at all?
And I say that more so because I think the Aggies are bound to put 40 in this game. And there's a chance I could see it becoming a shootout, but I really don't. I think A&M gets control. I think A&M pretty much dominates. You had a close game last week. You had a shootout last week. You had Florida to 17 points, and I know Florida's offense is worse than LSU's, but I think this is a game where A&M's up 2 scores at half. I think you're up 2 scores at half, and you come out in the third and fourth quarter, and you just dominate the rest of the game. I don't think you play with your food. I don't think you sit here. Maybe LSU scores quickly and does have a quick start, but that doesn't negate you from having a dominant performance, a marquee statement win. Really, this would be your biggest statement win of the season, in my opinion, in terms of dominance and control, because that Notre Dame win was a 1-point victory, on the road. I think A&M comes out here and they do it, at all levels and just absolutely put the nail in the coffin of Brown Kelly. I got it 42-17, and I feel particularly good about it. I could see LSU getting a touchdown or 2 more. But, I mean, heck, if it's 42-24, still a really good win. Heck, even 42-31, you should feel really good about that if you're an Aggie fan.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M is going to control this football game from start to finish. The only reason I have it a little bit closer is because of the nature of the environment. I can't imagine them scoring more than 17 or 24 points. I mean, they scored 17 against Clemson, 23 against Louisiana Tech, 20 against Florida. 56 against Southeast Louisiana, but who cares about that? 19 against Ole Miss, 20 against South Carolina, 24 against Vanderbilt. I mean, their season high outside of their, FBS or FCS matchup is 24 points. I can't imagine they're going to get more than 24 points against this Texas A&M defense. It's just very unlikely to happen. Ryan Kelly does have his back against the wall. Maybe he pulls out some new tricks. I think at this point in the season, you've pulled out all of the tricks that you were capable of pulling out personally. But we'll see what happens. Kickoff tonight.
It's just flattering.
It is. It could very well could be. You very well could be right. I don't blame you for thinking that way. If this game was in College Station, I probably would have been much more inclined to believe in your score difference. But maybe I just have too much respect for Death Valley. But kickoff tonight at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, or is it 6 p.m. Central Time, Harrison? I believe it's 6:30.
6:30 Central Time. Yes.
Yeah, 6:30 Central Time. Death Valley. The game is on ABC. You can follow along with. Get your popcorn ready. You can follow along on Texas A&M Aggies on SI for our live updates. We will be back for Locked On Aggies on Monday. Harrison will be joining me again to dissect this game and why A&M kicked the crap out of LSU in Baton Rouge and why they are potentially on their way to another national championship a la 1939, the last time they started 8-0. I don't know. We'll see. Anything could happen, but both of us feel pretty good about this game. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But for your second listen, please check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast. Give me a follow on X at Matt Galatzan. Give Harrison a follow on X at Harrison Reno. Follow us on Texas A&M Aggies on SI, and we will see you next time. Surprised you didn't try to push Vandy at some point in this podcast, Harrison.
It's for next week's show.